Unidos in Cristo is an ecumenical Cursillo community with global roots in the Roman Catholic, Episcopal, and Lutheran Cursillo communities. Unidos in Cristo has impacted more than 15,000 men and women during its first 25 years, and now involves more than 170 churches of various denominations. An Unidos in Cristo weekend is 3 days designed to strengthen and renew a Christian's faith and bring him or her to a new and more active awareness of living in God's grace. The weekend's theme is grace, which is brought out in relevant talks, discussions, and worship experiences. It's not a traditional retreat, as there's no fasting, required knowledge of the Bible, or pressure to participate. It is, however, an opportunity to experience grace and to reflect on your spiritual walk without outside interruptions or concerns about time. Let's hear how past participants describe their weekends.
It is a weekend immersed, totally immersed in God's grace. I don't know how to explain that except that I know that it's true. And I watch people just overwhelmed by God's love and grace.
I think that there's an energy that flows from people after they go through. We've got probably a community of 150, and I would say that maybe less than 2% of those people's experience was not very positive. But the energy that comes out of that is a desire to want to serve Christ. And right now I would say that probably on all of our boards in the church, that 80% of the people that are serving right now in our church are people who have gone through the Unidos movement.
For people who find that their walk with God is distant, or their experience of God is stale, or they're experiencing pain, maybe even a hidden rift with God, that the Unidos experience allows you to be who you are and to move at your own pace, but to move in God's direction, and then you discover that God was waiting for you there.
A couple of weeks before I was slated to go on my weekend, my father died suddenly of a heart attack. So I was also filled with a place of grief. And on that weekend, not only did I experience the wonderful love of God, I experienced a safe community where I could grieve and cry, as well as laugh and sing. And I really saw God at work in a more powerful way than I had seen, even through seminary and through church life. So I was really excited to bring this back to the church.
I experienced God's grace in a whole different way than what I had before. And, having gone through Bible college and seminary and been in the church since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, you think you've heard it all or learned it all or experienced it all, and you don't.
There were three of us on staff at the time, and the senior pastor went first, and we were both a little skeptical, I'd have to say. But he promised me, he went first and said, I'll come back and I'll tell you everything all about it. So you'll know going in. And he came back and he said, I'm not going to tell you anything. And instead he said, it would be like you really wanted a gift that was in a window, and you kept saying, that's really what I want, and you receive this beautiful box, and before you even have a chance to open it, you're told this is that gift that you've been waiting for, and you don't get that thrill of opening it for yourself. So I went because members of my congregation wanted me to go, and I went because the senior pastor at the time thought it would be a gift, and it was.
I think for pastors, it is first and foremost an opportunity to serve. The knowledge that one gains from the talks that are given should be pretty common information and knowledge to most clergy. So they don't necessarily need to expect that they're going to learn something that they haven't thought about quite rigorously, hopefully, before then. But it is, first of all, I think, an opportunity to serve the church that you are serving by inviting people to an experience of renewal that is broader than just the local church. That creates a kind of a Christian who I think Jesus is particularly interested in, where they're comfortable in situations more than just our local congregation.
Well, what I thought I needed was rest or getaway time. As it turned out, I think the Lord really said I needed Him in my heart in a way that I hadn't experienced Him before. It was about midway through the weekend, on Saturday night actually, that all of a sudden I just saw Christ and experienced Christ in my heart in a way that I had not anticipated and had never experienced Him before.
My experience with God, for a person who is not particularly expressive about feelings, I remember telling some of my friends that asked me that same question, how did it go? I said, I fell in love with Jesus all over again.
It's a methodology that works in terms of helping people perhaps understand for the first time this concept of grace. From hearing things and then talking about them and processing them 2 or 3 times, it becomes personal, it becomes real.
Unidos a Cristo fundamentally is about helping people understand that God's love is a gift. No strings attached, free gift. And I think it's a concept that people get in their head, but it's to really understand the radicalness of God's love. My phrase is, I don't think we really get grace very well as human beings. We have to work for it, we have to earn it, we're supposed to deserve it. And so to have a community that comes together and says, we want to make grace real and tangible for people, and so we're going to build in all this experience and expressions of love that's just overflowing, I think people walk out really having a taste of what God's grace is really all about.
The whole Cursillo type of movement, of which Unidos is a part, it's just so laden with God's grace and God's goodness that to, in fact, participate in that and to share in leadership of that, I think is important for even broader cause than your own local congregation.
The most important thing that happened for me was being able to rethink through grace. And that has impacted me the most as I've continued to work the Cursillos, to really emphasize grace, to live that grace, to experience that grace. People need to know grace. And grace is alive, well, and powerful in a Cursillo movement more than any other movement I've ever been involved in my life.
I think it's important for pastors to have an understanding of what their parishioners are going through or experiencing. Each people will experience it differently. Not often do people take 3 full days or 72 hours to really focus on their journey with God, their journey with Christ.
It can be kind of a pressurized situation in which the church wants you to go, people that your colleagues want you to go, someone else has sort of put the pressure on to go through, and I think oftentimes our clergy people, because they're busy just like everybody else, but their calendars get full, they go through a weekend perhaps a little more hesitant than some people. Not all, many people are hesitant, but I hope that they are open in their minds and hearts to just experience it, be part of the community. I know that we're encouraged to just tell them to be anonymous, to just enjoy the weekend, just be one of the guys or one of the gals.
A weekend like this is appropriate and the best gift a person could give themselves and other members as a clergy person, as other members of their community of faith. A person who says, whether they're clergy or a lay person who says, I'm just too busy, they're the perfect person to go through this. Because it's at that point where God wants to tell you, hey, slow down, take time for me.
The emphasis is not on building a movement, but on energizing the people who participate to go back and make a difference in their congregations.
And I think the people who have been part of Unidos are more apt to be involved in service in the church and outside the church, for that matter, in the community. I think we take that a little more seriously because of things that we've learned on our weekends.
I would encourage pastors to attend not just for themselves or even just for people who might need the experience of the weekend, but the weekend is a building force as far as training people or helping people to know that they can be a part of a bigger picture. Not just in the weekend, but in other ways in their lives, that they can become ministers to their world.
What we found in the congregation I was serving was that it created one of the avenues or pathways for people to experience discipleship. So people go on Unidos in Cristo weekend and they come back and say, I want to learn more about the Bible. And then we'd say, well, come be part of a disciple Bible study class, or I want to put my faith in practice. And so we say, go be on a mission team. And they would come back and say, you know, I thought I knew what it meant to be a member of the church. Now I really know what it means to be a member of the church.
I've seen lay people just come to life. I've seen churches, or at least portions of churches, come to life because an increasing number of lay people have experienced Cursillo or Unidos in Cristo.
I've watched people that have been very reticent, hesitant, holding back, all of a sudden coming alive and investing themselves in ministry, both inside the programs and ministries of the local church, but also beyond in the mission.
The specific thing I like most about Unidos is that I can participate with other Christians of other denominations who are very serious about their discipleship, who are very serious about Jesus Christ.
As a Presbyterian minister, it's really nice to be able to be ecumenical, to realize that we have so much in common because we tend to always accentuate those differences that we have in denominations. And so to be able to work alongside all the different denominations and realize how much we have in common.
It's just always astounded me that this movement is really worldwide, that you can find people that have been through a Cursillo expression all around the world. When we were in Taiwan doing mission work, we met people that had gone through Cursillo. When we went to churches from coast to coast, whether it was California or Maine, there was an expression where we could get involved.
It is not clergy-led, it is lay-led, and it is led by people not from all one church. It's many churches all together. And that, I think, is what caps the weekend for me.
We all grew up being taught in Sunday school that the church is the people. And I don't see that happening to any extent, or to as great an extent as I see it happening in Unidos in Cristo, where laity who are very serious about their faith in Christ come together, learn together, grow together, worship together, take the sacrament together. And to me, I just keep saying, this is what the church is really supposed to be like. This is the church at its best. And so that's what the movement has done for me. It has given me a model for what the church is supposed to be, and I love that.
I would encourage my colleagues to recognize that this is an authentic movement of the Lord, and it's an authentic volunteer lay movement.
Because it's a lay-led movement instead of a clergy-led movement, we get to be supportive and encouraging, and we get to use the gifts that we might have of speaking and giving talks and being part of worship, but we are not planning it, and we are part of a whole. And for me, it's a wonderful gift to not be in charge.
You are invited to attend an Unidos in Cristo weekend. You can get information about upcoming weekends from past participants or by visiting the website unidosincristo.com. Feel free to contact a council person listed on the website with any questions or for assistance.